Welcome to a special LawNext PR recorded right here on the exhibit floor at Legalweek in New York City. I'm Bob Ambrogi, and we're talking today about a new product launching called Legalgain, kind of as a result of a joint venture between Servient and Bentley. And why don't I have each of you kind of introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are before we get into the meat of what we're talking about. Ian, want to kick it off?
Sure. And Ian Wilson, and I'm the founder of Servient. Servient really was a company that we had our genesis in e-discovery, but with a focus on machine learning, and have been working on that for 20 years.
Yep.
Now,
Zach?
And I'm Zane Russell with Bentley. Bentley has a product called Easy Briefs that helps attorneys build tables of authorities, hyperlink briefs, and uses case law in order to verify the authority that has been doing that. So Ian and I hooked up to his AI, makes our database much better, and we've joint ventured to offer a new product in the industry that we think is going to revolutionize how people do research.
And this is a brand new product. It's, as I say, it's kind of a result of a joint venture. It's an independent product of either company, right? Do I have that right?
yes, that's correct. Right.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about it. Who wants to start kind of telling me what Legalgain is? How?
Well, I'll do a very high level, and Ian is going to get into some. But I think the easiest way, if I put it in layman terms, Legalgain starts with the answer. Most of the products out there are tools that help people help people search better. And our service gives you the answer, and then you can validate what you end up seeing. If you want to make some changes, tweak it, you can do that. It'll bring you back the change response on the reports that we provide. You know, what a lot of our competitors really can't do what we're doing. With Ian's native AI, we were able to take the case law database, run it through multiple times, and build some capabilities that we don't think other people have. You know, if you look at the big guys, they have the problem of they've cannibalized their own base because it's all subscription models, and we're not a subscription model. What we're doing is people are paying for a report, and they're doing it where their customer pays for the report that they produce.
Yeah. All right. Explain that to me. We'll start with the answer. How do we do that?
Yeah. So if we look at an outcome based, it takes away the need for the lawyer to conduct the legal research, because the agents are able to operate much like we operated for all these years in legal research. As we looked at the AI, we said the first thing we had to get is the foundational data, because you really need to ground it in the underlying primary law. Now, I started my career in legal research and sold a company to Thomson Reuters in primary law, but that was when I was way back in my 20s. As we got in and looked at taking our e-discovery and the scale of e-discovery and what we've been doing for, e-discovery was one of the first in the industry really on the supervised machine learning. We released a TAR product in 2008, and have been working really in depth the generative AI all along as the developments come. As we looked at it, we said we need the underlying foundational data. That's why we partnered up with Zane. But as we looked at it, we want the AI to have access to the data in the way that it needs to access the data. It doesn't access the data the same as the human reviewer. So we've basically spent the last 3.5 years building the equivalent of 100 years of editorial content on top of this data set in order to create a new form of knowledge graph that we can expose to our AI. So with that, what the AI can do is basically conduct that research on behalf of the attorneys. So it changes the roles.
Yeah.
So the attorney begins by guiding, give it the fact pattern, give it a complaint, and then the AI will interact to show these are the legal issues I see in this, creating a research plan, but in collaboration with the attorney. Once you've done your issue spotting in collaboration, it then takes off and does the research. And the other thing we found is e-discovery works at scale. Yeah. So to get generative AI to do this, we're able to let it go at legal research at scale. Yeah. So if you're into information retrieval, the way that you find everything, and what we do in e-discovery, is we reduce the precision of the search. So we pull back more documents. Yeah. So we're able to do that. We can pull back 500 cases, 1,000 cases on a legal issue, and let the AI and work through those So it's able to actually do a query and a retrieval process that as humans we're not able to do.
Yeah.
But what it does is it writes that memo. So it's gonna generate a 30, 40 page research memo, and that's where the lawyer begins his work.
Right. So I guess building off your example that I'm a lawyer, a client comes in, just been served with a complaint. I take that complaint, I upload it,
You can do that.
and then what happens? And
The AI analyzes that complaint and identifies for you the legal issues it sees, and then the research issues that it sees. And then based on that, you collaborate with it and say, I think there's also an issue here. There's an issue here. And once you finish your issue spotting, the AI is going to take off and do your research for you.
do this now. How does it, cases evolve, facts evolve? How does this evolve with that as you kind of move through a page? Data, how is that?
Exactly. It evolves both during the research process, but during your case.
Yeah.
So during the research process, it's also showing you what it's learning,
Yeah.
what it's researching. If it changes, it may discover another legal issue based on the cases it's reading. All right.
Yeah.
So, but you're as the attorney, you can interface and alter the direction of the agent report, and it'll change the reports. But once you have the report and you come back and you learn something else in the case, you learn a different fact, you come back, you don't start your research over.
Right.
You come back because it's stored all of the underlying, secondary, sources that it creates. It basically creates secondary sources. You don't need Amjur anymore.
Right. It becomes your treatise.
It becomes your treatise, but it becomes your treatise in your case.
Yeah.
And so, but it stores that. So if I give it another fact, it'll just go back and update the report.
Right.
And so it's kind of a living assistant for you.
Yeah. So how does this change the kind of the process, the workflow for lawyers who are involved in
These are it should start with the answer. It's in the verify.
Yeah.
So, before all the other tools, in our opinion, what they're doing is they're giving them better ways to search. Use AI to help you search faster.
Yeah.
And we're starting with the answer. And with the answer, they can verify it. And as Ian just got through saying, if they want to make changes or they see another hole they want to go down, they simply tell the AI. And one of the questions that someone asked me yesterday was, well, what attorneys are going to use this? We think all size firms can use it. I mean, small firms that don't have a team of people to go do the research and they're having to do their own, all of a sudden they have a team of agents that can be deployed to go do their research.
Yeah.
Large firms, we're not trying to tell people get off Lexis or get off Westlaw, but we don't believe the big companies can do what we're doing without cannibalizing their base.
Right.
All of a sudden, what's going to happen if they started doing this? They have subscription models that they have they have customers on, and they want people doing research in those situations. So we think that we changed the way attorneys can do research, and our tools can help them. And because it's not a subscription model, if someone's running a report once a quarter, we give them the AI chat and what we call Foundation, which is our base system. We give it to them for free. There is no cost. You run a report every quarter, and you get to use it.
So, and what we're doing on the pricing, it's kind of, I think it's kind of unique and to fit within the current law firm model. So if I'm a litigator and I'm going to do a claims analysis, I'm going to look at it and say, well, that might take me 30 hours of billable time to do a full analysis. And lawyers could quibble with us, but it's generally in the ballpark. So what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we're going to sell you 30 hours of virtual AI time. But the difference is we're going to sell that to you at $20 an hour. Now you would be doing your research at $400 to $600 an hour. So at that point, $600 gets you a full legal analysis that you then start your work on top of. And that's our business model. We're not asking for seats. We're not asking for subscriptions. We're only asking for the outcome base. So, and I believe as lawyers start to research in this way, they'll realize the days of Boolean search, the days of natural language search, the days of all of those information retrieval that I actually sold to that company is no longer relevant. In fact, the agents don't need the software.
Yeah.
They need access to the underlying database. That's why we spent 3.5 years building the data.
Does this mean, does this replace traditional research or supplement or enhance traditional research? And is there still a place where the Lexis and West and all that of the world are?
I think it's a new form. I see it as a new form of research. But it does take away that step of you trying to form the best Boolean query in first place. Yeah. But why not let the AI go out and read thousands of cases?
Yes.
And distill the information and bring it back to you in the way that you're used to reading it. Like if I gave an associate, I was a litigator. If I gave an associate, go research this, I'm expecting a very well drafted, comprehensive memorandum. That's where I want to start.
Right.
So that's where we're putting you. You're going to start your notes.
Yeah. So this is available now, right?
We are actually in beta. We have customers that are on in beta, and we have people that are getting on the wait list, and we're getting with them doing an onboarding. We give every new attorney gets not only free access in the free AI, but they also get a free report. If they want to do it on compared to an old report they've done, they can run the same report they did to compare. As long as they give us both to grade with the AI, we'll give them another one to do on the next project. So we're giving every attorney $1,500 worth of service to try it. There's no risk. Everything's client side encrypted. They don't have to, we're taking out all the worry, all the pain points and saying, look, you have no risk, try it. And we believe so much in, once they do this and see the quality of the report that's being produced by the AI agents, that they're going to want to start changing the way they do research. And so that's our model.
Yeah. And while it's in beta, how do people get involved in that?
We have a wait list. People are signing up on the wait list. On our website, legalgain.com, and people can go there and sign up. And what we're doing is we're rolling it out in a manner that we make sure that we can get the reports out timely and so forth, and get people onboarded so they understand. If they have any questions, we answer their questions and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you're in the beta period, obviously they come out of that at some point. And then do you have plans for further expanding this or building it out at this point? Or what are you looking for as you kind of go forward from here?
Yeah, so on the legal research side, there's obviously a lot more that we can do.
Yeah.
On the as this is a joint venture, on the Servient side, we do other AI use cases. So there's a natural flow into if you want to do e-discovery, you want to have first pass review, you want to do deposition analysis, all the things that go in. But you see, I think if you look at it from a data standpoint, what is the data that's necessary for litigation? You need the evidence, you need the case law, you need your work products, a statute. If you can put all that together, we can take that same business model of we're going to sell you hours because you can determine what the value of the service is if I tell you the hours. Yeah. And we can agree on what the value of the service is. The billable hours not dead. It's now billable agent hours.
I like it. So it's just that's how we do the data issue, and you're solving the overall data issue.
And ultimately, we think as we go forward, the data is the critical piece.
Yeah.
Both from our taking terabytes of e-discovery data and exposing that to the AI, but taking hundreds of years of primary law with the equivalent of 100 years of editorial content.
Yeah.
And there will be agents to do a lot of different things. We can introduce new agents to do other things, as Ian was mentioning, across the boards. Yeah. We think it does go further eventually, but right now we're focused on getting this out.
Yeah. Well, and really interesting. I'm really happy to. That's what they're good. I mean, go ahead. No. So okay. Well, it's a really interesting launch. I'm fascinated to dig into it a little bit myself and take a look at it at some point. But thanks so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
And we'd love for you to run a report.
I'd love to do it, actually.
Yeah.
Great. Loved it. Great. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Well, that's it for this LawNext PR here at Maripa, New York. Thanks for joining us.